I was like, it's a bold prediction, but I was like, cool. I was like, the agent sounds confident. Cool. Awesome. And then, when he called me, he's like, hey, we're houses are under contract after 2 days. I was like, what the f-? I was
What?
like, I know, I know you're very probably you're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be in the camera. I don't want to be any of that. But look, it's a simple conversation. That's it.
It's okay.
That's it. That's it. Because
Okay.
like you're the only agent I know really that's went from one market to another and then came right back. So it's fair. It's a fair statement. But I know you're busy. I know you got not gonna say his name, but I'm not I know you got your son asleep and then you're also baking. So yeah,
Yeah.
you got a whole you got a whole thing going on right now. So okay. Well, so we got Taylor Kendzora. Met her at an open house for the first time. It was a few years ago. She was on a different team, and she actually ended up leaving. And You were with the XP at the
When
time
I when I left to go to Georgia,
to
yeah.
Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And now you're back. Good old benchmark. Okay. So, but yeah, I wanted to kind of let people know because I think a lot of people look at our market and especially buyers and sellers. I think they have a hard time digesting our market because of how they see things sitting in the aspect of like they don't know when to sell. They don't know when to sell. They don't know when to buy because all they see is, oh, price reduction. Oh, it's been on the market for 90 days. Oh, it's this, and this. Oh, we're going to hit a crash. Rather than, I know you and I had a client and it was hell to get her into a house.
Yeah.
So you do a quick introduction and then you can talk about your experience, how you started, and then we can kind of do a little bit deep diving into your Georgia experience.
Okay. I'm Taylor. Fun.
Yeah.
I've been in real estate for what, 4 years now,
Yeah.
I think.
Sounds about right.
All right, yeah. Like 4 years, Clarksville for 2 years, Georgia for 2 years, near Savannah, and then now back here for a
Hmm.
few months. And yeah, it was really different going from one market to the other. And even when I was
Hmm.
in Georgia, still working here, very different.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess like how competitive, because I know you and I had a client, Bryn, that was it took a hot minute for her to find a house. And I know I'm not saying she's picky, but I mean clients can be picky. It's fair. But at the same token, it's a much different market. So I guess you you explain your experience in Georgia, like meaning, how competitive was it? What was the average like time on the market and stuff like that?
So there it was like homes were probably on the market for maybe a week if they were in
Jesus.
Savannah,
Jesus.
in a good neighborhood. Like if
Yeah,
it was overpriced or if there was something wrong with the house sat, but if it was
sure.
like, okay, this is a house in downtown Savannah in a good area and the house is good,
Right.
it maybe lasted a week. We had people going over asking price still. Sellers weren't paying closing costs.
It's crazy.
When then I was still working here, and here it was sellers were paying a lot of the closing costs, buying
Yeah.
down points. They were getting in under asking sometimes.
Yeah.
So, and I think I had people who would sell here, move down to then in Savannah,
Hmm.
expecting, well, I sold my house, I had to pay closing costs. Why aren't they paying my closing costs?
Right. Yeah.
And it's like because of the markets are very like I'm like your
Yeah.
house didn't go under in a weekend with 20 offers. That's why.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah, no, and I think that's again, it's kind of like it should be an eye opener for a lot of people because I know there's definitely a lot of pockets in the United States where the real estate market is very different. Like Arizona has a lot of competitiveness, kind of like the same thing as Savannah. I remember I had my buddy who was getting out of the Air Force who was looking to buy a house, and I was like, "Hey, Taylor," I was like, "Look, my buddy's moving there. Well, they've been there, but he just hit me up, and I was like, yo." So just understand, I just went through the ringer with one of my clients that just bought there. It's going to cost you to buy a house there. Like it is what it is. And I think for perspective, it's that market's still competitive regardless of where the rates are at, right? I mean, you
Even
and
today,
I,
it's
we
competitive.
right,
Right
right.
now, yeah.
But even if we crank it back to last year, where rates were a little bit higher last year than they are now, I mean, it was still competitive back then. So you can't even fathom like, okay, like, well, what happens if we drop the rates even more? It's going to be crazy. So, I know you had a few listings since you've been back, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, but what's the average time of like the house sitting here,
I would say probably like 30 to 45 days,
right?
depending on price point. Lower homes are going to go faster than higher
Sure.
end homes. But I would say average, probably like 45-ish days on the market right now.
But see, like, but you said in Georgia, it's like a week,
Yeah.
roughly, in
Yeah.
Savannah.
Yep.
So if you like, talking to buyers here, right? If when you work with buyers here, like, do you ever bring that up, kind of give them perspective, or do you just kind of leave that part out?
I don't think I really bring it up. Maybe
Mm,
the only time I've really used it would be like if I had someone selling and buying in two different states that
sure.
was there prepared that like, okay, even if you sold your house, let's say in Indiana and you're buying
Mm,
here,
sure.
then like for a buyer to be like, it might not be the same as your market to prepare them. But if
Right.
they're just mine, I usually don't bring it up because I just let them know how our market is.
Okay. Okay. Was there anything that you liked about the Georgia market?
No, it was insane. No.
As I sit here worried about Georgia Bulldog Polo,
It
I'm like,
was
yeah,
crazy. I will
yeah.
say though, like even there in like if you're in Savannah and then
Yeah.
if you kind of go like 'cause that's by Hunter Army Airfield, then if you
Hmm.
go out though to near Fort Stewart, that market is more similar to ours where homes are sitting for longer, and that's only like a 45-minute difference.
Sure. What
So
about what is it? What did Dylan say? Was it Richmond Hill?
Richmond Hill.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a very busy. Yeah, I'm assuming it's
It's
the
a very
same.
desirable neighbor
Okay.
like area to live in. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because he had mentioned that, and I'm like, for some reason, I thought Brent even looked
She
there.
bought.
She
She
bought there,
bought.
yeah. That's what I was like. I was like, man, I could have swore she either looked there or bought there because I was like, it sounds familiar, but I was like, I was explaining to him because he's a VA client, but this is his first house. I'm like, well, you're gonna kind of have a rough experience because you're not here. It's very customary for, even when the rates before the rates even got crazy, like even if you take out the COVID years when the rates were in the 4s and 5%, right? It was very customary for even sellers here, regardless of the market, to pay your closing costs. But because when the rates got in the 2s and 3s, and sellers are like, psych, sorry, like we're not
Never
doing it.
mind.
Yeah. So like not like that seed is now planted here. And so when they do see a market shift, that's what they know. So like obviously, any kind of market trends that we see, from here on out, it's not saying that you can't get sellers to pay your closing costs during a crazy time. It's just the odds are like definitely not in your favor. Like it's almost like you have to know somebody in order to do it because otherwise you're competing against like, 7, 8, 10 different offers.
Right.
So, I guess like moving forward, if you were to give people advice, okay, about expectations in Georgia, like let's just say Savannah, okay, what's a realistic time frame? Okay, let's just say they had only $5,000 to
Okay.
throw into this transaction. Okay. And they wanted to purchase in Savannah. Okay. And let's just say the VA, so obviously no down payment. Cool. How do you think $5,000 is doable in a Savannah market?
I would say if they're not super picky, it's
Okay.
doable.
Okay.
If they have like, I need to be in this exact neighborhood, I need this and this, it's
Yeah.
going to get harder and harder.
Sure.
Um, I do have a client actually that I referred out to an agent there, and they've been
Mm,
looking for a house, and she has been very picky.
sure.
And they've been looking for, I think, 4 months now, and she hasn't had one of her offers
Christ.
accepted. And she,
Gosh.
and yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
process. And she's even like, she's looking in a lower price range. Like I think they're trying to stick around like 225. So
Mm,
even then, like that affects it because a lot of people can afford 225. It's a cheap,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
you have more buyers. I would say it's doable. You just have to kind of be open. Maybe
Hmm.
have a house that you put a little work into and not
Sure.
one that's like perfect.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. So what about so like let's just say the area you were at. What is
Where
it?
I
Rin
lived,
was it Rincon?
no, I lived in Elabelle.
Hello, was Rincon close by?
Uh, Rincon was
Oh,
like
Rincon.
Rincon, yeah. It
Okay,
was
I was out
like 25 minutes away or so, maybe.
okay. So was that were those two markets about the same, roughly?
Yeah, like Elabelle and Rincon, yeah.
Okay. So that
Not the
yours was
same
a little bit more
Savannah.
relaxed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's something I can definitely,
But even
maybe try to explain to him.
when we sold our house,
Hmm.
which was what, 6 months ago now, I think.
Yep, give or take.
Around there. We had two offers on our house.
Damn.
Yeah, like we
Okay.
had it competitive and like we lived in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, versus like here,
Right. Versus, yeah.
but but maybe the difference is like the inventory is probably a little bit more scarce there, I would assume. Do you, because like here I don't it's been a while since I've kept track of like the active listings, but I would assume we're somewhere around the 1600, seventeen
There's
hundred
a
maybe.
lot right now, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So like there's I think that's why a lot of the houses are sitting currently. And I don't think it's necessarily like I think a lot of people like to panic because they can't unsee when things are moving so quick and that's all they know. So like
Because the
yeah, my
people
house
selling right now are the people who bought during that time.
yeah. Yeah, which no, which is true. And so like they have a really unrealistic expectation of like they start freaking out like why is my house not selling? You
Yeah, it
know?
hasn't sold in 24 hours. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, that's not the market anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I guess what about for clients here, right? So like I know you're on Kelly's team. You were in the Clarksville Home Team. Um I mean, I love everybody on your team. It's a really cool team. Like seriously, I always talk about you guys. It's really cool. I think the only person I don't know personally is Keegan, but Brandon in our
I'm the
office works with
best. Yes.
Keegan. But but no, so like I know like when you guys do I'm pretty sure you guys do like a buyer and seller consultation, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what does that exactly look like? So I know it's like a shift of change for you because I know you weren't on a team in Georgia, but you came here. But like, so what does that look like? So like, do you set up your expectations for clients here?
Yes.
Okay.
So for sellers,
Hmm.
I like a whole packet to get
Okay.
them. Usually that goes through like the process.
Hmm.
So we sit down, we go over, I pull numbers for like their specific price point. How long have homes been sitting?
Right.
Are they paying closing costs? Does it say anything?
Sure.
What do we need to do?
Hmm.
So I think that's one of the biggest things is letting them know your house isn't going to go in 24 hours. Let's
Yeah.
it's like let's list early. Because I've had
Yep.
people reach out to me like, hey, we are moving in 2 months. And I'm like, we need to list your house now.
Like now.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you're probably a month behind here. And so I think it's just managing that, like, okay, we
Yeah.
do need to list it a little earlier. We need to give time, be
Right.
prepared. It's not going to go, you're not going to have a showing and someone's going to offer on it.
Right.
It's not realistic. And then as far as buyers go, I think that's more of let's sit down and talk about like more like, okay, what do you need to cover?
Right.
And our like lender goes, what closing costs do you need? What do we need to try to get you in an offer to
Right.
make it possible?
Gotcha. So if you so like again, let's go off the listing side, right? And you guys are talking to the listing agent. I mean, you guys are talking to the sellers and you kind of bring up the point like, hey, it's going to take a little bit. Do you guys get a little kickback from that at all? Or have you seen any?
The only time I've gotten any like is when people, I just had one actually closes tomorrow.
Okay.
They had renters in their house. The renters had moved out.
Hmm.
We listed it. They couldn't list it till after renters were out.
Oh, okay.
So now it's open because you're going to have double mortgage payments until this closes.
Right.
So I don't really think it's kick. I think it's more like concern, like, well, how long is it going to take type of a thing.
Right.
And actually for the house that closes tomorrow, it was on the market for like 5 days. So it was worked out perfect for them. Yeah.
Okay.
I have no idea. We were like, oh, all right, great. We'll go with it. So
Damn,
it's
5 days?
5 days. Isn't
What
that
the hell?
insane?
What the hell?
And I sold the house right next to it too. And
Well,
that one was on the market for like 30 days.
geez. Damn,
So yeah.
man. Well, see, I mean, and it's weird because, like, so I'm doing a loan for my pastor, and he was selling his house, and his house literally sold, like, went under contract after like 2 days. And I'm like, but it was kind of the same thing. I was like, hey, I'm not your agent. I was like, you need to go talk to your agent. And I was like, but just understand, like, your house may sit. Like, it's even though it's a pretty aggressive price point. I was like, again, I'm not trying to cross lanes here. I'm going to stay in my lane, but just me telling you up front, like, your house may sit. It's like do not freak out. Don't be surprised, but go confront that with your agent. And the agent was like, no, we'll have your house sold in 2 weeks. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, hey, and I was like, it's a bold prediction, but I was like, cool. I was like, the agent sounds confident. Cool. Awesome. And then, when he called me, he's like, hey, we're houses under contract after 2 days. I was like, what the fuck? I was
What?
like, I was like, damn. I was like, okay. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. I was
And
like,
it's like you just don't know. Like there's no way to predict that
right.
specifically to be like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, you know what? Your house is going to go in a day or your house is going to sit for 30, 40 days. Like
Yeah.
there's just, I think that's the crazy part of this market is it's
Right.
like, I can prepare you. And if it does go faster, great.
Yeah.
And then go from there. Cause like that's a question I get. People are like, oh, well, this house sold in a day.
Right.
Okay, well, what was the reasoning? Like maybe
Yeah.
there was just that buyer was looking that day it went on and it was just worked
Yeah.
out. I was
Right.
like, it's not realistic though. I feel like people don't
Yeah.
understand. At least
Yeah,
one.
no. Yeah, it's like the
Yeah,
outlier, right? It's like, hey, you're kind of like the weird one that did sell quick, but unfortunately for the norm, this is not normal.
right.
So, you know, what was like the process like in Georgia? Obviously, me doing a few, deals in Georgia, contracts are obviously way different. You guys had um what was it? It wasn't you guys had earnest money,
Mhm.
but wasn't there, maybe I'm thinking of North Carolina. I think North Carolina has a weird thing. It's called like due diligence money and earnest
It's,
money.
so we didn't have due diligence. You can do due diligence money, but
Okay.
um, the due diligence there in Georgia. So here it's you have an inspection period. If something
Gotcha.
is wrong during inspections, then you can back out due to that.
Hmm. Okay.
In Georgia, you have a due diligence period, which is like a week, 10 days, whatever. Like you put it in, but you
Hmm.
can back out for any reason.
Oh,
Like you could just back out because you changed your mind and you get your money back. You get your earnest money back.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So
There's no,
that's
that's the big difference.
wow. So like, so even if you have, like, let's just say earnest money,
Mhm.
you can still get that back.
As long as you're in that period, yeah.
That's crazy. Because then what's the purpose of earnest money? Like,
After the point,
but you
after
know what
that,
I'm
like,
saying,
yeah,
right?
after that week, yeah. But
Yeah,
if you're just sitting there and you're like, oh, 2 days from now, I changed my mind. Actually, I want to go put an offer on this other house.
you
I'm going to back
can.
out. You can, and you get your money
What? See, that's wild. Because I
back.
mean, like, it's not like we're trying to strap people into a house, but it's like it does waste time. It could potentially waste time for a lot of people if you're not careful. Damn, I didn't know that. Okay. Um, I guess, and then is there anything else quirky that you learned about the Georgia process or like the real estate market in Georgia besides it being crazy? Like, was there any like vast difference between like Tennessee and Georgia?
I don't really think so.
Okay. Obviously I wasn't there fully to help when you needed it, but it was weird because you're like, are you licensed yet? Are you licensed yet? You had all these buyers. And then when I finally got licensed, you're like, hmm.
I was like, well, I had a kid. I
and
take a break for a couple months.
I was like, okay. Because
Like,
I was really selling it to James here in the office. I was like, hey, there's a lot of deals I'm missing because of Georgia, and I get it. And he's like 3 months later, where are these deals coming from? I'm
where
like,
are those deals? You're like, well, you see. Like, should have done it sooner. Sorry.
yeah.
It takes a
You're
little
right.
bit.
But I'll say from the lending side, it's pretty standard for us. It's the same thing as here. But I know to get licensed in Georgia, it was a pain. Like there's a lot of hurdles to go over. Um, okay. And then so which I know Zach's kind of starting his career, and I know you guys just had your kid, and What are you like? I guess like what are you trying to anticipate like your goals for real estate back here in Tennessee? Like, do you have certain things that you want to do? Is it more so like because I know like before is a lot different. You didn't have you didn't you
Have a
were
kid.
yeah yeah
Didn't have anything else to kind of worry about besides
yeah
me.
yeah
Yeah.
so like I mean I know things have changed, but like do you have certain things like certain numbers that you want to hit, or is it just more so like no I'm gonna be more a little bit more referral based and then just kind of be a little bit more active in your son's life.
I think in general, like I'm okay with like 1 to 2 a month, which is kind of where I am right now.
Sure.
How
Yep.
I've been. But I think any more than that, I would probably be like, okay, refer it to another agent on my team. Just because personally, I don't have that like, oh, I want to do 10 homes a month.
Yeah.
You have a little son.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
that's
fair.
important to me.
Yeah.
Like, I have
Yeah.
a husband, he makes money. I don't. I'm like, there's no like, I'm not like, oh, I have to make
Listen.
10 grand this month, or
Yeah.
it's kind of like, okay,
hmm Oh yeah.
I'll
Listen, I know Zach's. I know you're just waiting for the day to tell Zach and be like, "All right, Zach, I'm done. I'm done. No more real estate. I
I'm gonna
am
sit at
done."
home with my chickens and baking my bread.
Man, you know what? It's so. See, I want Kelly on this. I really want to get Kelly on here. So there is a weird correlation between women and chicken. I don't get it.
Oh, 100%.
Like every almost every person I know, every female that I know owns chickens. Like
Mhm.
it or want to talk about getting chickens, I was like what's like you don't hear dudes saying, "Hey, let me go buy some chickens." You don't.
I
It's
think it
like
like starts off like I saw TikTok and it was like, oh, your wife started making sourdough. You might as well get a chicken coop and buy yourself a farm now because those are the next steps. And I was like, and Zach was like, no, 100%. That's how I feel. It's like, oh, you start making your own bread and you're like, oh, look at all this stuff. Oh, I can get my own chickens and get my own eggs and perfect. And you buy chickens. And then you have four and you're like, I could get like 10 more. Easy.
Listen, it never crossed my mind about like how many females want chickens. It's so weird. Like I can probably give you a list of 20 people, like 20 like
So are you
agents
saying you're
or
getting
women that I
chickens
know.
then?
Huh?
Are you saying
I promise you, I pinky promise you,
chickens?
Karma's going to want some form of a chicken, or she's big into goats too. For some reason,
I
goats.
would have a goat,
Okay.
100%. I would have a whole
Well,
mini farm if we're being honest. I would have like cows and everything in my backyard if I could.
but like it's but kind of like going back to the chicken thing. Like there's this lady that on my powerlifting team. She actually works out in the morning. Um, she like so we were all talking about like she's on the same powerlifting team that I'm on. Cool. Like it was a bunch of us talking, and then she was like, "Hey, do any of you guys need eggs?" And I was like, Erica, do you have chickens? She's like, I do. And I'm like, oh, dude. And I was like, I don't get it. Cause then like I see like an agent, Carla Baker. Oh, hey, yeah, my chickens, they're doing this. Oh, Laura Torres. Oh, hey, the chickens are good. I was like,
Yep.
what's up with you all and chickens, man? Like it's so crazy. It's crazy. I don't know. Like I would love to do like some form of a study behind it because I was like, I don't, it's not like a
It's kind
dog.
of blown up like recently too, though. I feel like within the past like 6 months, a lot of people have been like, let's get chickens. Let's do.
But it's
I have
weird.
my clients who just bought land. They're planning to get chickens and animals. I have people who reached out to me today who live here in Clarksville. They want to sell their house, buy land, and move out towards Johnson City
Okay.
and have their own little farm, little area.
Maybe
Like,
maybe that's what everybody's going to now. Everybody just wants to homestead and just get away from everything.
yeah,
It's
everyone wants to get away from the world. They're like, don't bother me in my own little area. Survival.
uh okay. Well, I know your son's probably getting ready to get up from his nap soon, maybe.
Yeah.
But you're also got baking stuff, so I'm not gonna keep you on too long. But yeah, so hopefully I can get some of your other uh like your team members on here.
Right, and Kelly.
Well, yeah, and Sarah, like I told Sarah, she's like, "Well, I'm gonna need a drink," and I'm like, "I will drink with you. Like I will bring
That's
a
what
bottle
she
to
said.
work."
She
I was
was
like,
like,
I Yes, I will bring a bottle to work and drink. Like, yes. So,
You're like, we could do this.
but yeah, like I'd like to get Kelly and Britt on here, and like even if it's both of them, but like it's just I know Kelly and Britt really pursued a builder here, and I know they
Mhm.
got some listings here with them. So like it'd be kind of cool to kind of see, how do they do it? You know, what do they like about that? Like, what do they prefer, new construction, existing, stuff like that? So, but yeah. But anyways, I'll let you get back to it. But this will be on Facebook, it'll be on YouTube, and
Oh,
it'll be on
fun.
Spotify. So, so when you're bored, you can just be like, oh, because
No,
listen, I hate hearing myself talk
I
to.
am not rewatching this at all. I will not be watching this. Kelly was like, "Is there going to be a live? Can I watch it live?" And I was like, "Absolutely not. No, Kelly, this will not be live. No one watch
uh,
it."
I should have hoisted up a camera right here and be like, oh, going live with Taylor. Like,
Like, just kidding. Here we are.
but all right, well, I appreciate you taking some time, but at some point I'll have to get you back on a little bit later on. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
All right, I'll talk to you later.
bye.
Every single beef, I had to let it be. Spend a lot of time wasting energy. That ain't made sense to me logically. But I feel way better.